the safety of everyone,
Hopefully.
let's go back to Zoom for the time being because rates are going back up.
Yeah.
Well, Luna just notified me, because I had booked 2 of the board meetings with them. Closed campus. They're
Yeah,
shutting
I
all of
mean,
it, everybody or anybody else other than students, that's it. Out,
Students are the only
campus.
ones that are allowed there.
just the students and
Try to
teachers.
provide that feedback.
So I'm surprised, I'm waiting for Highlands to say that too, and
Okay, I'll wait for, because we're gonna have a finance report from Bill too, right?
Yeah, I know he was in a meeting, real quick, so he should actually be getting out of his meeting now.
Okay.
And I know Virginia should be here, I don't know if she's coming.
I mean, we'll understand. That's okay. Okay. Yeah, just take a picture of the package as is. Yeah, and then are there 2 good ones? Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine. Use the ones that are whole, and then I'll figure out what Amazon. We need to replace the one on the pool as well. Go ahead and do both of them because you're gonna know what I'm talking about when you see the pool stuff. Okay. All right.
Good. Busy?
Busy?
Yeah.
Good. It's good for you.
Hope it stays like that.
I hope so.
Hey Virginia, will you come into the meeting? Okay. Bye.
Oh, if you miss me, just leave a message. I finally figured out that Friends of the Museum is you, so I keep forgetting.
Is that what it comes out of?
Yeah, it comes up as Friends of the Museum, and I'm like, all right, maybe that's just, and then I'm realizing that it's probably you trying to call me, right?
I don't know, because every time I call, it just comes up as the city. Usually when I call people, it just comes up as the city, the regular city number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes up.
Unless, I know Bill called you too.
Yeah, that's when I put the 2 together. I was like, okay, they're trying to get out to me. Yeah, Las Vegas Museum. And it seems to be because I don't even have it in my phone book, so it seems to be like Samsung has its thing where it identifies a business or municipality.
I wonder if he's calling you with because our department has like a landline of its own.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's how he called you.
Oh, okay.
And that's how it's coming up. Because usually with mine, it just comes up as City of Las Vegas.
Okay. Okay. But was it you trying to?
I know I called you a couple of times. I think
Okay.
I called you twice. I think I called you
Was it
yesterday.
for just if I was attending?
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured since I saw the packet right after the call. that there was
Yeah.
something around that.
Usually Bill, he just tells me to make sure to call everyone just to make sure that there's
Sure.
going to be a quorum. Just to verify, so that's why
Okay.
usually you guys, I'll send you guys like the invitation,
Yeah.
so to tell you guys where it's at and the
Ju-
time and all that, and then the packets and then the phone call. So
Just make sure to put if I miss it, just put a voice message so I know.
Okay.
I attempts to try to transcribe to your voice, so if I even see it in a text, there'll be something on the orders of lodger's tax, and I'll get away with this.
Okay.
All right, is there something, we probably get going, and then maybe Bill will be in there here by this time. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 2:06 p.m. on August 10th. Can we have a roll call?
Okay, so Krutik Bakta,
Present?
Ellen Ayfield, Gabriel Garcia,
Present?
Georgina Ortega Angel,
Present?
and Shauna Sandoval.
All right, so we have a quorum. Moving on to approval of agenda. If there is no discussion on that, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second it.
All right, roll call.
Georgina Ortega Angel,
Yes.
Gabriel Garcia.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, motion passes.
All right, any public input?
No.
All right. So moving on to approval of minutes. If
Okay.
everybody is caught up with minutes, and are good with it, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve the minutes?
I second it.
All right, roll call.
Gabriel Garcia,
Yes.
Georgina Ortega Angel.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. All right, finance report, so we're.
So it looks like Bill is still in his other meeting. And I know with the finance report, it's basically the same thing as the last one that we had. The only difference is there's like an extra of about 30,000. And the reason being for that is when we had our last meeting, when I printed out the budget reports, we printed it out right before two more payments came in. So when we redid the numbers, there was two more payments that were extra that were in the finance report. So it's only about like a $30,000 increase from what we had the last time.
Okay. Oh, my questions would be for Bill, so I don't have any questions. So if there's any other feedback. with the budget,
Yeah, I wanted to know, with that funding that came in, because it was mentioned of the last meeting we had, the closing of all of the, what is it, the Amazon, whoever was here doing all that stuff, was all that gonna be showing?
Is that showing the Amazon production? That, I'm actually not too sure. I think when we got,
Well, I mean, I know we're putting that revenue, but all of this revenue that we're seeing is for expenditure, I mean, next year. So it's
Okay.
gonna help
Okay.
for our budget next year. So it's kind of, unless you were trying to include something, because what was that, July collections, is that what you were? looking
yes. So so I printed out the budget reports June 28th
at? Okay,
in the morning.
okay,
That afternoon is when the two more payments came in.
okay.
So yeah, but I believe, I think those ones were actually, those might have been for either May or June.
Well, here's, so it was successfully stalled long enough to,
Can I borrow that? Thanks. Sorry, guys, gals. Got caught up in the meeting.
so, I guess there was did you want to make the report, or You want to go straight to our question?
I can, you mean you have questions on the financial report, or?
We had one, but if you
Okay.
had something to say, just.
No, I didn't have anything to say. This is pretty much the start of the budget year. So,
So the additional 30, she was mentioning about a $30,000 addition, that was that was for the end of the fiscal year, that wasn't accounted for, is that what we're talking about?
I'm not sure what.
That was the two reports, the payments that went in after I printed out the first budget reports.
Oh, yeah. It- So this was my first budget year, and because last year, the budget, because the new administration came in, it just rolled over. And that was on the process that the state wanted to do. So, so we didn't do a budget last year, basically. The budget we had was the budget we had the previous year. So, this year, we had to do the budgets, and nobody mentioned about what happens with all the POs that are open, for instance, on projects, and they roll over from one year to the next, for what, you know, so, a couple of those got dropped off because of that, assuming that they would just carry over.
Okay, so it wasn't revenue, it was rolled over expense, that was a change?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we basically, the monies, obviously, we didn't spend hardly any money last year. And so, the one thing that the budgets, and, you know, lodger's tax is a little bit different than everybody else's department, because none of the other departments make money. So, and we brought this up, and said, well, if we go on the budget, how much money we're gonna make, and we're gonna spend all that plus some, because we have things like the marketing committees in there. We put more money into New Mexico True campaign. So all these basically went over the amount of money we're estimating that we're gonna make next year, but we didn't spend money last year. So we're pulling some of that money into this year's program. And so that's why the budget looks so high.
So, we typically don't see it in this way, so I've been wondering before, I mean, I just assume that accounting takes care of it, but maybe we should have, especially when we're doing the budget, a percentage of what we've, if we've met our obligations to New Mexico lodger's tax, right? We need to spend a certain amount of dollars within, I think, a 2-year period, and make sure that spend
2
is
years.
towards the formula for marketing spend.
Yeah, and I don't think we have an issue with that. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, this
I
budget.
only mentioned it because
Yeah,
we mentioned we rolled over some money, so.
Yeah,
obviously be
right,
careful when we do
exactly.
that.
Exactly. And I might have estimated a little bit high on the expected income, because I just took the average from this previous year.
Yeah.
And normally, we're probably down around 35, this was at 37 a month. So, and that may be even high, who knows what because, you know, the movie folks basically saved our hotels and stuff this year, evidently.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
those-
we were over, but way over budget and what our expectations were, so.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear word of the renewal, and that will be some
Yeah,
continued, I know everyone doesn't want to hear it, but as far as city taxes and lodger's tax, it's a huge impact. Let's see if we can translate that into more marketing and more business for the town.
and just so you know, next meeting, we're introducing the ordinance for short-term rentals. So there'll be lodger's tax collected on the few that we have in town. I know we probably have about 20, I think.
Okay.
So, at least the ones that are obvious, that are advertising on Airbnb and VRBO. I think that's what it's called. Those are the easy ones to find, but So probably starting sometime September, October-ish, will that all kick in.
All right, anything with the connections, I don't know if the Loves with their expansion, what they're doing there, but I'm not sure what's happening whenever, if they ever have hookups or whatnot, what that is designated as, if they get to sit in a spot and they provided services like
Should
water.
be an RV park.
Yeah, so I don't know what that will eventually turn into.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. I wasn't aware that was happening, so.
So that's gonna come October, September? The,
It should, we should get it, it'll go out for publication after this meeting on the 18th. And then it'll be adopted in September meeting, one of the September meetings, probably the first one. And then we'll probably kick it off October 1st or something like that. We'll put notice in the paper and all that kind of stuff to let everybody know what's going on. And we'd have to contact Airbnb because they'll collect lodger's tax for the short-term rentals. I think VRBO does the same.
yeah, they do. That's gonna be me. And it was coming.
All right,
Okay, cool.
any other questions? All right, if not, we'll move on to business items. Approval of the repaint of the Calumet Girl. Calumet Girl.
Wrong one. That was brought up by Alan Alfeld and another gentleman, I guess he's talked to about getting a cost for doing such.
Yeah,
And there's also a suggestion that instead of saying welcome to Calumet, or Calumet, whatever it's called, they say welcome to Las
Las
Vegas.
Vegas.
So we're just, this request is, should we look into getting a cost on that? And would that be something we could do through lodger's tax?
okay, so we don't have like a number or anything.
He sent me a bunch of stuff, but I don't think there was a number on there yet.
Okay. All right, so maybe it's more like a discussion
Mhm.
item, right?
Yeah. My,
Because I can't give it's approval or repaint, but it's tough to do that if we don't know how much it's gonna cost, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I would have written it down if it was there, but,
Yeah. I mean, we could say, we could approve the discussion of it so that at least we know, it sounds like a good idea, we gotta put a number to it if we're gonna be accountable for it.
I think you should table that until you get some more information on actual costs. Because
Is there a time constraint on this?
no,
All right.
Okay,
no, it's just, it's showing its age and it needs to be perked up, and I think we also have to get approval from the person who owns the building and
Right.
everything else.
and all that stuff.
And,
Is the film commission still meeting?
mhm.
I don't know if this is something they want to take on, just to throw around ideas of, hey, should we change it to Las Vegas, or should we keep it original for the film buffs, what those discussions are. Because I know that would be a question, if you wanted to change it to Las Vegas, is it like devalue the film history portion of it if we change it and it's not original?
is it protected?
Right, so some of those discussions probably need to be had. I mean, there's one way on that, and protecting another way, it's in need of, it sounds like it's in need of maintenance, if that's what I'm hearing. It falls apart anyways, and so on, but at least they can take on that discussion, and then their feedback would help us to just quickly provide
So-
improve.
Mr. Chair, the gentleman who was communicating to Alan is Tom Highland.
Mhm.
And are you familiar with him?
I saw the email
Okay.
from Alan.
And he did, I must have missed it because it was in the first email, but, so he's estimating about 12,000, 13, 11, another 1,000, call it $14,000 estimated. That includes the lift equipment and the paint and the labor.
Okay. And when we do that, do we have to, I don't know, do we have to, it's underneath the threshold for, we don't have to go out to bid on this or anything? Seems like a specialized service for if it's a mural or something, or, I mean, I'll let you guys figure that out, but.
Yeah, I'll have to ask those questions. Normally, yeah, we probably have to put it out for bid,
Okay.
but, yeah.
All right, yeah, let's see if we can, I mean, I think it's a good idea to table it for now. We could answer some of these questions. We got a ballpark figure. But probably, I think it would be a good agenda item for the film commission. We'd like to figure back from them.
Okay. One of the things he did mention in here is that the reason why the labor is going to be that high is just that, first of all, it's a pretty good sized sign.
Sure.
And second of all, the surface has deteriorated quite a bit, so
Part
he's
of
probably
it's fixing it
basically gonna fix the surface, which means he's basically repainting it, you know,
Okay.
again, so.
Probably the other questions is whether we have permission and so on and so on. Because the building owner's not him though, I don't think, right?
Mhm.
It's,
No, he's not the building owner.
okay.
Then that's where you be your beginning.
Mhm.
Before you do anything, you gotta talk to the owner, yeah, to see
So
if
you
this
go
is.
from there and then we know somebody that can do it and.
Okay.
Does planning and zoning have to get involved with this at all? Because
Or
it's an
permit.
outside permitting and whatever?
I don't think so. I guess it's become kind of sort of historic, I guess, being there. So
That's
we
been
can
there long
ask
enough, right?
that
It was
question.
1981.
I think it'd have to be, we can bring it up to council as well. I think it should be a council decision. Well,
Yeah,
eventually it would
maybe-
be if we're spending lodger's tax money on it.
Right, so maybe we could do some of the homework so that'll answer some of council's
Mhm.
question. But I think there should be feedback on whether, and it's a key point, is repainting it, yes, because it's film history, but I think the other issue that needs to be talked about and discussed is whether to replace, to change it, basically, to Las Vegas.
But if you change it, then you're changing the historic value of it.
That's
So
the discussion
it's
that
a-
needs to be had,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think there should be people with more
And I
expertise to
agree.
talk about it and
I agree.
point that out and say
Right.
whether it matters or not. If people may say it might have value if we change it to Las Vegas and it's more, and it didn't devalue the film part, but I don't know that, so I'd like
Yeah.
people to have that discussion so we make sure that we cover our bases.
So do I make a motion then to
Sure,
table this?
table it.
I make a motion that we table the approval of this, what is it, the girl, the Calumet?
Repaint to the.
Calumet, yeah. girl.
Calumet girl.
I second that.
All right, roll call?
Gabriel Garcia,
Yes.
Georgina Ortega Unhead.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes to table.
All right, moving on to approval of 1,500 for 2021, 2022 NM Top Hat Awards.
Is this a new event? Top Hat?
I think Virginia's gonna come.
Yeah, Virginia's gonna talk about it.
About what?
Top Hat.
Top hat.
Oh, Top Hat.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't hear it was Top Hat. I was going to So the Top Hat is basically, the Top Hat Awards are the awards that are held every year to recognize tourism and hospitality. There's a whole bunch of categories that they recognize within those two industries. And they give awards to tourism and hospitality industry professionals throughout the state. So for example, Alan got a hospitality professional of the year the last time we had it, and I was top 3 for tourism professional of the year. And then, you know, before that, we had 2 years where we were finalists for fiestas and for digital campaigns and other things we were doing. Anyways, last year they put it on pause, and so we're hoping to get in again this year. And we're hoping that we'll be a finalist for some of the digital campaigns that were run through COVID, and then also, well, mostly that, honestly, because we didn't really have any events, so, you know, we can't put those out there. But that's what we're trying to go for this year, is a lot of our marketing stuff is what we're gonna put in for this year. But anyway, every year, we get a table, and that table is usually for the mayor, the council, and for the lodger's tax board, and whoever is nominated. We usually get 2 tables. The last year, we only had to get 1, but we usually try to budget for 2 tables. That way, we can invite the boards, and I'm guessing we may need to if we include the marketing committee this year.
So that's a table for 10 people?
Yes, it's a table of 10.
And
Yes.
it's in Saturday?
Well, it varies. It's like the rest of the, you know, award shows and symposiums or whatever we get, they bid out for them, and they're in different cities. This year, I believe it's going to be in Albuquerque.
This year it's announced.
Yeah.
And when will they do this?
It's in the fall. They haven't released any dates yet. I think they're kind
Just
of waiting to
depending on
see
how
if
things
it's,
are going.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds
but-
like it's gonna be, start getting interesting again, and so we will see.
Yeah. Yeah, but.
Okay, so I mean, this is designated under, when I first saw it on the thing, I was like, I mean, technically, it's, we shouldn't put it as an event, technically, right, because it's out, not in Las Vegas. So I just saw that you used the application, but we probably don't need an application for this one, because it's not an event.
Well, the thing is that it would, which it has in the past, it varies just depending on
Yeah.
board and administration and stuff, but it comes out of, it usually sometimes comes out of the budget that you guys have set for the staff. So like, you know, if you
Yeah,
guys say,
that'd
yes,
probably
that's
be a better way to
okay,
do it
then we'll
than-
just
than
pull it out
using
of
an
the
event
staff budget,
marketing,
yeah.
And I guess as long as it ties into, since we're attending, just the act of that attending is marketing and so on, right? So it
Mhm.
still fits within the guidelines of, I don't know how the other
Right.
towns do it if they do it this way, but as long as it fits under the lodger's tax guidelines of how the money should be spent, then
And it does, there's actually an exemption for that specifically. In the
for this.
procurement, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is the 1,500 for 2 tables?
1,500 is for 2 tables,
Okay.
yes.
Includes food, right, or is that
Yeah,
extra?
it includes
Okay.
food and drinks, and
So,
it doesn't include the room, but.
in the event that it is canceled, we get refunded?
Yes, and we
Okay.
actually they probably won't even take our money until they know they're gonna have it, because
Okay.
they haven't announced it yet because of the fact that they're, you know, things are still
Okay.
popping on, so.
Okay.
It may go virtual. I'm hoping if anything it does. They didn't do it virtual last time, but I'm hoping if anything it is virtual.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the $1,500 for the 21-22 New Mexico Top Hat Reward.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call.
Virginia Ortega Armstrong
Yes.
and Gabriel Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Let's see, approval of setting dates for event marketing 2022, and it looks like November 1st, 2021.
That was our, Mr. Chair, that was our estimate of when we would have to do it. Just
Yeah,
based
so
on time.
we were talking about it, and the way you guys were explaining how you want to go about the application process, scoring them, coming together with you guys, marketing committee, just all the stuff that you guys are wanting to do. You want to usually get events twice a year, which January would be a good one. So what I went through my head is, if you guys want January to be the deadline, we need to have these applications in by November. so that you guys have the month of November as a board to come together, score them, do everything you guys need to do with that. The month of December, the marketing committee can get a hold of the applications, they can score them, you guys can come together. So come January, our regular meeting in January, everything's already scored, it's gone over, so you guys can just approve the amounts that you need to approve. And I'm thinking this could be for all the events that are gonna happen between January of '22 to the end of June of '22. Which, you mean, if you have an event in those 6 months, you should know about it before. So you can apply for the funding so that we can get everything set and ready to go. So when it comes in January, you mean, there's no, well, we didn't know, or, you mean, the application wasn't right, just so that we can have everything set before, and then everybody knows about deadlines, and there's no, you mean, misunderstanding or anything like that.
Yeah, but if we get into July only, then we have that gap of what we're doing in the.
Well, I was thinking maybe by November, having the deadline for the applications from January to June. And then in April, having that deadline for the remaining part of the year from July to more or less
Okay,
December.
so we'd approve in June for,
Yeah, so it would be, you would have the 2 dates set for, you mean, for half the year, but it would be half the year one time for one meeting, and then the other half the year for another meeting, so that you guys have everything right away. You mean, there's no, like how the last ones, like, you mean, all the applications be correct, and you guys can score them to see who gets, you mean, either 25 or 5,000, or if it's an event that goes, that makes the exception to more than the 5,000.
yeah, yeah, we end up doing it twice a year, but I guess the only issue with that is if we do it too late, it's still, we were trying to entice people to start early.
Yeah.
And so when you really start early, at least thinking about your event right away, at least more than 6 months before, it pushes them to do just that. And so then we can award the money quicker, and they can start marketing the event, not just a month before the event, but months before
Yeah.
the event, so people can make plans and show up for it.
That was the idea, Mr. Chair, that, we'll get everybody starting to think a little bit sooner. This whole last year has been like a big cram to try to get everything
Yeah.
done. And we had a lot of one-offs, and so that also, throws a burden on us and the people to get things done quickly.
There's a deadline in December that I heard last time. Was that something important, Virginia? Was that New Mexico true? Is there something in December that there's a deadline for?
No, we just have to put our second payment in by December.
Okay, okay.
No, that's already going through the whole fiscal year, so that shouldn't really be an issue. But
So
again,
say we, so we put it in, we approve in January, right? But say there is a set event that's in January, right? How is that accounted for January, February, March?
that's gonna be one of those that we have to cram in somehow.
Okay.
I would think, but I'm not aware of any right now that'll be that
I wish,
early.
yeah, we should have like a whole development team for January, February,
Well,
March.
It'd be a good thing if we had to do this every quarter and we were booked. So
Yeah.
that would at least show that we have a lot of events going on in town. So we may get to the point that we'll have to do more than quarterly meetings, because at the quarterly meeting, that's when we get all the applications for the next 6 months or something like that,
Okay.
so.
So what we approve, and I just having a discussion here, what we approve, say we do November, and to approve in January, so we're including, would this include, the Big Hit of the Fiestas? We'd have to include that,
Well, I was gonna say that, I think we should open up to everybody who has an event
mhm,
for the next year,
mhm.
but, and get them to start thinking about it and getting them in, because the sooner we approve them, easy it is for everybody to get the money in time and get the contracts and whatever else is required. So, I wouldn't just say, oh, we just want the events between this period and this period.
I think that may be easier to say is that if there's people ready to go
Mhm.
a year in advance, we can give them that chance for the entire year.
Yeah, and I agree that usually Fiesta Board starts doing stuff in January, but they should already know,
Now we
because
want to move
they're starting to
faster.
get contracts and stuff in January, so they're done by June, right?
Yeah,
So, yes, so Fiestas would be one that would most likely have to get an application
right,
in November.
right. And
And give
that'll
us their
push them
plans, yeah.
to do more. I just see more things out of this when we're forced to do it earlier. Hopefully it's not, the presentation isn't. But the idea is to push them to have better marketing, better ideas, and think earlier about it, and have it
Exactly.
out there longer.
Yeah.
And then we know those dollars are going a longer way, instead of just trying to shotgun someone a week to a month before the event.
I have a question on that. If they do their applications that far in advance, things change, do they have a chance to revise or amend that application? Or is it set in gold, stone, that's all they're gonna get, this is it, they're not changing it?
I think we could probably be flexible to a point.
Okay,
Because the biggest
Okay.
point is
I'm
that.
okay with that then.
is
I just
that
want
we
to have
have
some leeway.
a fair, cohesive way to approve,
Mhm.
and then that helps the majority, and if there's
Yeah.
problems in between that we're having issues with, then we have to, for what we know, and what we can tell council is that we've looked at the event, examined it, and this is a fair use of the funds.
Mhm.
And later on, if that's not able to be done, then, typically that money comes back if they're not able
Sure.
to hold the event.
Okay.
If that's within,
And
the
it's
city
not
limits.
committed until we get invoiced anyway,
Right.
so if the event doesn't go off, it doesn't go off. That's
Okay.
all there is to it.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So, I think we should start with that. If there's some thought to the second round, but I'd like it to be open to the full year on that January. I think we should really, really be on a campaign of letting everyone know this is the process, that, hey, this November is the deadline. So do we want, we were saying that we want 2 full months for us to score?
I would think so, because you guys, so we would get them more or less November 1st, or you mean the weekday, whatever November, the first day of the week is. We'll
So you
get
need
them
enough
November.
time to have a meeting.
Yeah, because then I know our next regular meeting's October. So, October's the last meeting for this year. We could have a special meeting in November.
Mhm.
If we have the deadline by the 1st, we can have a special meeting, sometime the mid-November. You guys already have them review them, you guys can go through, it'll just be a meeting just for the applications to score, review, whatever you guys need to do.
Okay,
And then, once you guys are set with that one, you guys, the applications could go to the marketing committee, because in December, the marketing committee also they'll have their meeting. So for their meeting, they can go over their applications, send us their input, send them all of their scores. And then you guys can review it. If you guys want to come together in December, the 2 boards come together in December, you guys can. If not, if you guys could just, even if it's
Okay.
kind of like me being the middle person between the two.
that gives us enough time to flesh out how we want to put that together, but at least we're putting in stone a date now for applications.
Yeah.
So we think that's enough time to really get the word out, this is for the full year.
Yeah, because if you do it now, if you guys approve the dates now,
Yeah.
to be honest, we'll probably start advertising it right away, so even by tomorrow, if not Monday next week, we'll start having it out and being
Even,
adopted for applications
yeah,
to come in
see
by
if-
November.
If in kind, because we're advertising on $100, so if in kind, radio stations and so on, after we put this date out, that, hey, if you want to have your event marketed, this is the date, please get your application, pick up your application at City Hall.
Yeah.
And I think in addition to that, if we're thinking again, and for instance, the April meeting to look at a little bit further into the year, we can do the same thing, that, you know, that if you have events in October, September, October, you can certainly present them at the April meeting, and go through the basic same process.
That's what I was thinking, if we can flesh out a date, but if we get to this step one
Mhm.
and still have it open for the full year, let's see what we get.
Mhm.
My hope is that it encompasses a lot of, if they're really the message is out there, if we can get people thinking right now, my hope is that we'll get applications for stuff that's throughout the whole year.
Okay.
If need be, we can discuss that second opening on it, but my thoughts are, let's try to get in this mode of, what if we did it once, let's see
See how it
we
works
get
out.
once, if we get the word out well enough, and so if that turns into a well-oiled something, or if we just turn it to no, not enough people did it, then we open up another date.
Mhm.
As long as we stick to those dates and then keep going, that'll be much easier on all of us. We could tie these with what we're doing with New Mexico True. We know these are set, so we can start thinking about how we tie some of these events to our bigger overall marketing. All of that becomes much easier when things are set in stone, kind of how the city works. The city has the budget due, you can't wait months later or so on. I mean, that's how you can plan. So if we can get back to planning things out, it'll be better for us.
Okay.
All right, I think on the application, what's Renee, it's a little bit, I think at the end, if we can attach something saying, unless I missed it, that they have to come back and report to us, I think that's what we're missing. We're having these events, but nobody's coming back to report to us how it went.
Okay.
And so I'd like all the applicants to come back to us, and I think it just needs to be put in the packet at the end that said so person needs to come back and report to Lodgers Tax on how their event went, instead of waiting the whole next year to find that out.
I think it should be in the application so they
Is it?
know.
Yeah.
But we do put it in the contract now, so that was something that, you know, we just recently added this past year.
Okay.
So they would have to do a
Yeah,
report.
if it's in the contract, great, and then the application too at the end, so they know that, hey, this is what they'll have to do.
Mhm. And so you know, the CCHP is going to present on their app at the meeting on the 18th. So they're going to at least brief council on it.
Okay,
All right, and
let us know whenever they
we
want
just
to
didn't get
brief-
time to get it
brief
on this
Lodgers Tax.
agenda.
because that was the beginning of how they got there, so
Yeah.
anytime they want to.
But, so they'll, if you miss it on that one, we'll definitely have, they're going to plan on coming to the next meeting to
Okay,
do that.
can you have a request for that, since we kindly.
Put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
We put it on the agenda.
It will be,
they come
it
back.
just,
I've requested a couple of times, but I think we've taken the time to approve their application. I think they should take the time to
Yeah.
come tell us about it.
no, they don't have an issue with that, and they're
Okay.
ready to do that, and they have a nice presentation.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on setting this date? No? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
A motion to approve, setting dates for event marketing 2022, November 1st, 2021.
I second that.
All right, roll call?
Virginia Ortega Angel,
Yes.
Gabriel Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes for November 1st to be the deadline.
All right. So, we'll, all alerts bulletin, start getting it out now, November 1st. Everybody, already, what the deadline is, where to get the application. If there's anything that needs to be filled in, just please put it in so that there's not any doubt as to how, what went how.
Yep.
And it's fully transparent.
Take
whatever
care.
avenue we can do, maybe even during the council meeting, for it, so that enough eyes and ears, know what the process is and the date. All right, moving on to new and other business, marketing plan.
So I'm just gonna give you a quick update on the marketing plan with, the marketing committee.
Okay.
They're on their final piece, but right now, what I'm handing you is the analytics that I said I'd give to you for our meetings. We just started the fiscal year, so of course it's just July. So with the analytics, you're just gonna see the first page is the page views. There's a list of all the different pages. Of course, the number one page is the BS's because it's July. The other one, you'll see it's just a slash. That's actually our homepage. With all the different campaigns going on, we use visitlasvegasnm.com on all our marketing, so that's why we get a lot of people just going directly to the homepage and then they gear off to what it is that they're looking for. Montezuma Hot Springs, we're getting a lot of hits on a lot of our outdoor stuff. Montezuma Hot Springs is one of those big ones. So I get a lot of those in the emails from the website, and I just let them know the updates where they're at, if they're open or not and stuff like that. There's a campaign, you'll see HTML, and events is number 4. Those are basically our top 5. Of course, you know, it goes on, local restaurants, things to do, places to stay. Those are usually always our main pages that they go to view. Skillet and the drive-in are always on the top of those pages as well, with everything else. The next page is basically just telling you the breakdown of the page views. See those. And then the next one tells you the goal completions, the goal value. So basically the value that we've completed, and our goals, so that goal completion right now is to get people to visit at least 3 pages and spend at least a minute on the website. So we've been meeting a lot of those goals on many of the pages. And we'll be revamping that to meet higher goals coming up soon. The next one is basically the users, what they, you know, where, if it's mobile, desktop, tablet, that kind of thing. The next one is where people visited our website from. Of course, number 1 is the United States, then we have Indonesia, United Kingdom, Canada, China, Australia, Germany, and it goes on and on and on. And I think that's a lot to do with the diversity we have around here from the colleges and everything else. The next one is users and the language. Of course, most of them are English. All different types of English on there.
So then that pie, the new visitor is 82%, so that's.
Oh yeah, that's the new visitors and returning visitors. So that's actually pretty good. We've increased
Right,
the amount
so
of new
It's
visitors.
not just people coming to look at the events for fiestas or something
No.
over and over. It's
Right.
unique.
Right. We have
Wow.
but we have quite a few new visitors in there for that. And at that actually, those were also during the time we started promoting, because we started promoting like the New Mexico Cruise and many of these other events early. So it might tie
Is there a way we
into that.
can, like, see how the specific campaign's doing, or did we break down?
Yeah, actually, I'm working with the state now, and we're going to start doing that. We're going to start creating pieces that are specifically for each and every campaign. We could check
So you can
pages and
see-
stuff like that, but campaign specific,
Yeah.
we're going to start, yeah, we'll be setting,
Okay.
we're setting that up.
That'd be exciting. So basically, I mean, so the dollars that we're putting in through this is, it's the New Mexico True money? Because we haven't set aside anything else like on our own. outside.
Right, we haven't set anything on side for this. No, this one is based, yeah, and It's not really all true. It's just kind of like it's standalone that's helping pushing a lot of the marketing. Because we haven't really put a lot of money into that. We put in a
Well,
lot
my
of,
next question is, I mean,
yeah, we
wanna
put
start
in a lot of,
here and,
we put in a lot of work and stuff like,
okay,
to get it to where it is. But I was telling Bill maybe a good idea coming soon, because we get a lot of people who are starting to want businesses and company and all sorts of different areas that are looking to advertise on our website. They've been calling and asking to advertise on that. So maybe we can later look into how we could set it up as some kind of revenue generator
Okay.
too for that. I would, you know, they would have to figure out how we do that or what.
another idea.
Because I wouldn't want to create that also and then have it all go to general fund and we can't reuse that when that's the whole purpose
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah. Ads would be another way, I don't know, we'd have to look at other municipality. I mean, I'm wondering if there's any revenue generated because for some of the sites, you have hotels that are bookable from the site, as in instead of going, and so you can collect
Yeah.
fees for doing that, for pushing that through. And those fees could be used for further marketing,
Yeah.
so but we'd have to figure out how that works.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that are pushed through the visiting websites right now that
But
we
that
can use.
would also give us a lot of data of that, I mean, those are actual numbers of, look, this
Mhm.
is the number that came through the tourism website, so we know that this is Lodgers Tax Money's use, or, I mean, for the most part, we actually see that completion, that we know that they stayed in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Does, just a question, just for knowledge, so let's just say you have an ad for Best Western on our page, and somebody clicks on it, does it go through a third party that is connected to that click in a way so that
So if
they
if I were to
collect-
individually do it, then the preference would be to go straight to
Best
to
Western?
Western.
Okay.
And then the ad would be paid for that way. What I'm talking about is actual booking engine right off the visitor
Oh.
site,
Mhm.
and that booking engine, whatever the entity has fees attached to it, usually they take it from the hotel's end. So if something was $100, they take, say, 20%, and they then forward $80 to the hotel instead of, that's the fee. So
Okay.
then there's a breakdown of how much of that commission goes to us and how much it goes to whatever the booking is.
And it is possible, I mean, we have the possibility to do that through all the apps available.
I've seen it in a few spots, that, I mean, in different municipalities on that direct booking rate, but it provides us with a lot of data then, right? So if we forward everyone to push through their, say, for said event, and we have a number of who attended the event, who actually slept over because that reservation went through our system, our marketing system. So we have the exact numbers of, this is how many people made reservations for this event at this date.
And if they click through, like, say, Fiesta's page, or if they click
Yep.
through the motel page, or
And they would list all the hotels
see it all the way
in
through.
town, and you just pick one, kind of like Expedia, but it's through another third party.
it's like we have it now, the only thing is we'd have a button for them to actually go and book a room, instead of just listing the name and number and address.
Because right now you just have a thing. You
Yeah.
have book a room.
Yeah.
You probably have links for it going to our individual
Yeah.
websites. But there are other municipalities where it's bookable, it's right
Yeah.
on the site, you could go. Now, I mean, yes, we're having to go to a company to have that done for us, but we should investigate whether that benefits or not. To me, on the data standpoint, I think it's something that can help us. I may not be
I
happy
like
with
that idea.
with the commission taken out, but it'll help us with the numbers on how the event went if they booked it, so it's something to look
Exactly.
into.
Would you have multiple third-party outlets, like?
No,
Expedia
well,
or
the way-
Booksy, like, or would you just want one?
Well, the way the system that we have works is it uses its own type of system, but all of them go through there. So they can choose like Expedia or Travelocity or whichever one it is that they need to use, so.
Okay.
It gives you different options. So motel quote, but kind of like a car quote.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it does give you the different options though. Yeah, so we can definitely look into that. Like I say, the most thing I'd be concerned about is if we're
Look at
bringing
what we
money
can-
in where it
we could- I
goes.
mean, the more streamlined we'd be and the less we would have to communicate with. Like I would try to avoid trying to connect with Expedia and so on and third parties because they have their own. So what you want to do instead of them taking the money is that you want it spread within the town. So if you are doing a commission, you want it to come right back to us instead of to Expedia Corporation
Well,
and
there's-
so on.
Yeah,
And
it would
that
still
doesn't help.
positively through ours.
Huh?
It would still go through
Go through
ours
it,
with
yeah.
the fee and everything, yeah.
Yeah, and so the commission would be to lodger's tax or to the city, saying, hey, this was the referral, this was the push through, and this would be the percentage. And so that could be a lower percentage, so then all the hotels would be behooved to advertise like, look, if you're coming for this event, go through this portal, and so on. And you could market it that way. There's a lot of stuff that we can do with an engine in this way. So if you want to, I mean, there's some thought to if you saw the event and you want to book immediately, well, it's right there. You don't, it's even more accessible. You don't give them time to change their mind. They're sitting there on the page and they're, boom, they've booked their room.
The state does, I mean, we
Yeah.
file for registration for a conference or something, and there's the
right on the
button right
page
there for the hotel
for the
to
hotel.
register, yeah.
Yep.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel, it's done.
It's already
Yeah.
done, it is, yeah.
All right, and so,
So that's the analytics, and on
Okay.
the marketing plan, so they did meet, they have pretty much come up with, some, what am I trying to say here? Campaigns. There you go, thank you. Some campaigns and some taglines and things that go with it. They're in the final stages of choosing the things that, or the placements that they feel would work best for these campaigns. One of the campaigns is a trails campaign, and it basically covers all the routes, like the trade routes, the highway systems, the Zuni, Santa Fe Trail, livestock routes, all these different hiking, all these different things that attract visitors into the town. Right now, sticking to the old trails, new adventures kind of theme. The other one is, of course, outdoor adventures, and again, that's sticking to it just mostly because of COVID. They have some great ideas for a bunch of other campaigns.
I know the
they-
trails thing has come up before, and it was with our tagline, so what was it? And then I think they were trying to, in the past, they were trying to tie it to like a number system and see how many trails you can visit and so on. But if there's something cohesive that, and I've seen it done in other places, like somebody wants to complete the whole, the whole thing, but that's a way to kind of get them to see everything if there's a plan laid out for someone coming to visit. So if it's something in that fashion, that works too. We just haven't
Yeah.
pulled out that detail, like whether it was a film trail, all
Well,
these.
That's the other thing, is
Yeah.
the state with the Northeastern Regional Board, we had our all regions meeting, and one of the number one project on there is to create, work with all regions in creating tours, and they're all gonna be trail tours. So their number one project is to do that. So that's why I think we also agreed to stick with this too, because then we can jump on board with that,
Mhm.
and they can assist with creating all that information. Because they did bring up the idea that if we start doing these trails the way, they really want them, there's a lot of history and research and stuff that needs to go into it too, so that we can, properly give the names and stuff that we need to. So, that was another thing is, because the state is really working on this whole, regional tour system kind of thing.
Right,
trail
and
and
we
tours.
can tie it right in with, trails and tours seem to fit pretty good, so we could tie it into some of our things too. So if we can keep pushing on that, do you think Will be a presentation anytime soon on anything solid?
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah.
There will be at the next meeting. The only reason we didn't have any now is because we did have a chair.
Okay.
Georgina just became the chair because our other chair actually got a job with HBO, so she had to go to Texas for like 10 months or something.
Okay,
So we had to change up
I
our
am
chair by
the
and all
interim
that.
chair.
They will be
Okay.
doing one though in the next presentation.
Got it.
They'll actually probably be giving you the whole layout of the marketing plan.
Okay.
Because not only did they choose campaigns and they choose a couple of little taglines like Live Las Vegas Life. I think one of the hashtags was hashtag OGLV, which, you know, makes sense, attracts the kids and
Okay.
it's catchy. But the other thing they did talk about, which I know has been a big thing of lodger's tax for many years, is the idea of, do we need to hire people? Can we get students? All that kind of stuff did come
Right.
up. Now, the one thing, so they laid it out and they said, okay, this is what we have. Now, who do we need to, you know, complete those projects? And they went through it because, you know, they're all designers and historians and whatever. And so anyways, they came to the conclusion that right now what they're thinking is that you get a designer and see if we could get some interns that are project specific for those campaigns
Okay.
that we run for the year, since you can only have them for a semester anyway, to make them very project specific, which I think will go really well with Highlands, knowing that we have something specific
That
rather
they-
than an overall general, like we
Wherever
could
we're
throw
at.
anything at you kind of
Okay.
thing, yeah.
That sounds better in small purchases. So my main question is that who is the oversight on the whole thing?
So that would have to be between you and Bill
Huh?
to decide how
managing
you
the show?
guys make that happen. But
That's always a question that's come up. And
one of
so
the suggestions they did make is, I know that in the past, the visitor center and other things that were related to tourism in general were provided through the lodger's tax. So the board said that maybe what we could do for now is provide some of the money to hire the designer, even if it's part-time for now, and then let the city decide how to incorporate them, if they want to incorporate a full-time into the department, or if we want to keep it as,
Right. so
you know,
that-
something that happens or is evaluated yearly through the lodger's tax.
Right. I mean, whoever it is, it needs to be somebody that's there and consistent, right? So we can't have the whole plan fall apart because somebody left. That was my, before I use the wrong words, that was some of my concern when we were talking with Highlands. That what if so-and-so, the main person, leaves and goes to another university or so on?
Yeah.
Or a said student leaves, does that whole thing fall apart? Who's in charge for keeping that going? Because we can't just drop our project all of a
Well,
sudden.
that's where we had the discussion that the key person would be the design. The person, whoever we brought on board, would be, the key person would be the designer. He would be the one supervising this over here. So if that person, that student, for whatever reason drops off, the designer still has, he's still holding the bag. That person is holding the bag. They've got the control of the project that we're working on. So it's not, you know,
Okay, so the interns would be
Yeah,
working.
so
for the
that's where they
design.
come in and
Yes.
they do project specific. So,
Okay.
for example, myself and the designer, you know, we'll work on whatever we need to, and then say we need a video, then we can say, okay, this is where we bring the students in. We need you guys to create us 2 videos, marketing videos on outdoor adventures. And that's specifically what we need, and you do that for the semester, and that's it.
Okay.
You know, because that's kind of how the interns work too. I mean, I was part of a lot of those internships, and that's how it was. We were always very project specific.
Okay,
but we also, in that meeting, we're putting something together to figure out what it would cost us and what type of a design person, what qualifications they would need to do this. You know, they would have to have multiple coding or whatever. I'm not sure what a designer does specifically, but the people on the board, some of them are designers. And they say, oh
Right.
yeah, you've got to be really able to
Mhm.
work multiple medias here.
So so you would be working with the designer? Or
Yeah.
So the question is that, so the head of it all, that's you?
Yeah,
Is that
well,
what you're
yeah, it would
signing
be
up
me
for?
and the designer. Yeah,
Right, so you
doing
would be
it.
working for the designer for the design portions of the overall plan
Mhm.
that the
Yeah.
committee has come up with.
Yeah,
And-
that way I would focus on doing all the back end and everything else, and he would focus on,
So
This
the committee's
part.
identified that, hey, we need design help.
yeah.
So when we go out to get design, are we saying we're gonna need designers for whatever we say? So are we going out and getting hours, or are we saying, these are our projects, this is what you're applying to do?
So the committee was suggesting that we get a part-time or full-time designer. Now,
Just-
how it rolls out, again, that's, up to the administration and Rogers.
Right, so in the past, so if we dip it in the bud right away, in the past, we've gotten into situations when we had the marketing company before where the ratio of admin versus actual design work was questionable. So that's something that we should look into when we're putting it, is that, look, are these hours actual design work, or are we paying for a lot of admin work? So when we set that out and we're writing those contracts, that's what we should probably
Make sure
keep
it's,
in mind when we go after a design company.
yeah, because it should be at least 80% design and then,
20%
very
miscellaneous, so-
small, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, if, for example, if they were in the department at the city, an actual employee, every day we'd be sitting down and more than likely I'd be giving them something new. Here's a new poster for you to create. Here's a new, we need to
Okay.
redesign this to fit into a Facebook cover or something like that. So not only are they designing new things, but they're redesigning everything to fit everything that we're
Okay.
putting it into. So, and that's a lot
And
of
have
work.
it, and sorry, I'm just going back from memory, have each project coded? So if anybody asked, this many hours was for this many hours
Mhm.
was for this many hours for this, so we don't get ourselves into trouble.
Oh, yeah,
We
they'll
know,
probably
what
do
we spent on
something
each
like,
one,
like I do. I do one every day that says exactly what I've done
Right.
for the day.
right, yeah. For the-
Well, one of the, Mr. Chair, one of the things we can look at, and, of course, we have lots of options. We can, if we can find the right firm or person to do this, then we can just contract them and work off their hourly rates or whatever, how they charge us for this project, especially if they start off part-time rather than full-time. It's
So
just-
we wanted,
And just like we would do for engineering for utilities department, for their projects, they go out contract to engineering firms for an engineer and they give them the hourly rate, and when we call them, we call them when we need them, and there we go.
okay. And since we know exactly what we want, I mean, we still have to
But also,
Well, for- for
sorry,
bid.
I don't mean to interrupt, but when we're talking about that, we also need to remember that when we're hiring someone, that we're gonna get more work out of it than we're gonna be paying in, like you said. Because when you do pay firms, depending on how you go, like the last one, we paid more towards administrative than we actually got back. We
Yeah, I was just mentioning
barely
some
got
of the
anything
issues,
back.
so that now
Yeah,
that we're doing
so-
it again, we're learning from our
mistakes.
Our mistakes, yeah.
And do we own the materials?
That's
that
the other
they're
thing, because we got
designing?
zero
That's
assets
you
back.
know,
Yeah.
So that has to be
in our contract.
very clear.
So are we, I mean, has there been any discussion on how much dollars out of the approved funding that we'll need for design, or?
They
what's the
haven't
question
yet,
approved?
because I think the idea was to just kind of see how the administration and lodgers tax would take that too. It's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
It's a designer, so
Well,
they're
then
one of the
depending
most
on-
expensive,
Right,
so.
and so do we need to do the things we need to do if it's a higher dollar amount, as in, we can't have a sole source on this, right?
Right.
Because of
Well,
the dollar money.
yeah, and there's
or-
plenty of designers that there wouldn't be a sole source.
So it would go out for.
Yeah,
It would
it would
out
either
for
go, it would go out for bid, there's three ways you could do this. You can have it go out for bid as an RFP. You can do it to where lodger's tax takes it on, like they did the visitor center person. And so it becomes a permanent, not permanent, but it becomes a position, an actual position at the city, paid by the city, but paid through lodger's tax. Then there's the third option, which I doubt will happen, but it is an option that the administration would actually create a position for that. So two ways that a position is created. One is through lodger's tax, like we did the visitor center. The other one is, through HR or whatever. And then the other one is RFP. Those are the three different
I know
options.
that Highlands will only do it on RFP. I've already talked to them.
RFP seems like the best route, it's just, we wanted to move
The thing-
quickly.
My
On the-
suggestion and the board's suggestion would be to go with lodger's tax like we did, the visitor center person.
Uh-huh,
We still want to include Highlands, but we know how Highlands works.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, 2 of the board members are part of that process. And if we make it project specific, then we can just go and we can just say, here's here's $4,000 for the
Yeah.
semester. We want a student intern to cover this project specific. So we're still going to get the student interns, but a large portion of the load with the designing will be covered as well. So you'll have both portions. You'll have the additional assistance with the
city
designing,
employee.
plus you'll also have the 2 interns.
We'll have to decide. I like the idea of the intern part, but having it as a city employee, I'm guessing there's other incurred costs that we're gonna take on as well.
Mhm.
And so sometimes it's easier just to have the professional be the
Yeah.
contractor. It works out easier for us. But on the intern front, what we've done in the past, I think, was a job corps, right? The job corps, or AmeriCorps?
AmeriCorps.
AmeriCorps, yeah. And so we've done that before, and that would help us along the way too, where AmeriCorps, and they used the university students, and AmeriCorps paid for half their salary, we paid the other half. And that could be a direction we could go to, and that,
Well, that's the
There's
same
no
one that we
quote.
tried to get when I sent the proposal to Miriam last year
Uh-huh.
and to Lauren. And that's
Yeah.
when they said that, no, they couldn't do that because of our process and their process doesn't match, so we'd have to go through an RFP. So they would have to actually apply as part of the RFP as AmeriCorps.
Okay.
So that's why I say I like the other way, because we can, if we're project specific, because that way we're just saying, when something comes up, you're gonna do it. And
Yeah.
we don't know what it is, but you're gonna do it. When this other way is like, we know what you're gonna do, so we want you for these 6 months to complete that project. And because it's so project specific, it's easier, because then we can do the actual internship program
yeah.
with them.
But if we don't renew that, the person just loses their job?
Well, I mean, it's just a semester, it goes by semester, so you only have them per semester.
Oh, okay.
Is there-
You can never really get an
So the
intern
main
for like
design
live
person
or
would be
anything.
just a
They're
semester
always
time?
gonna change when you use students, no matter what
No, I
you.
think the
No,
design.
your main
person's gonna
design
be at the
person will
higher
not
level.
change.
Yeah, the design person, they're looking at it as a whole other level, it's not
Right, so I
necessarily.
understand the intern issue
Yeah.
with it. I mean, there was some stability to the AmeriCorps thing because they had to complete the thing, so you had them at least.
I thought that
2
program
years.
was done. Did it come back?
As far as I know, because I had to send them a proposal to Lauren last year. I don't know
So-
if it came
so-
back this year, but yeah.
Oh, okay,
she
because
had
I
it.
remember when Lauren came in,
Okay.
distraught, she's like, it's
Oh.
done, they killed it.
So they.
But it came back, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah.
using the RFP and having an independent person and look at, we have them in the community, I'm talking about the main designer, I understand the thing, but I think,
We have a ton of them. in the
So
So the
community.
main designer will do design work as well as have interns working under him.
Under.
Right.
And being
Yes,
sort of liaison
yes.
from
Right.
the city and Highlands.
Yeah.
and we can figure out on how those interns work, but I still think as far as the contract goes, it's easiest just to contract out to a professional for these services. It's a clear contract. I think we kind of mix things up when you become an employee of the city. I
Yeah.
think that's something
That
to,
gets way too complicated.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so when I start talking about deliverables, and then, I mean, one's a.
Yeah, I'm
like,
supposed to be a
contract,
photographer, videographer, and I do all but that.
Everything else and so on. You get into odd odd stuff
Yeah.
on what.
That's very
what
true.
the other side.
But if you do it through you, like you did the visitor center
Mhm.
person, then you can, as a lodgers tax board, you can set those specific, like regulations or whatever,
Yeah.
those. you
Well,
can
we haven't
set
heard
those-
from that group either, there, so that's another, I haven't, we can't have a report from the visitor center on how they're doing and what they're doing and all that. But, that's what the things that we get into right now, they're just technically, I guess, city employees, but we don't know who the
Yes,
oversight is.
that's correct.
I know Lodgers Tax
Actually-
isn't overseeing the visitor center, we just kind of approve the budget.
But going back to the designer, I kind of envision that we'll probably end up contracting that out. I don't see that becoming an employee position type thing. City doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah,
Same
and
fashion.
you're already doing a lot of stuff, and so
Yeah.
when it gets in that position, I mean, guess what, if that person disappears, then you're just doing more, right?
And it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
we'd
it's
have to
kind of like
justify.
me, I told them I'd be here till December just to finish the website, but if I decided not to do that, they would be stuck with
With,
a whole bunch of stuff that nobody can really, yeah.
And then we would be the people that would contract with whoever, but let's say Highlands for the interns and all that stuff, because that has to go through HR, and I'm sure it has all those
All right,
intricate
so we're at a
relationships.
design company to go out for RFP. We're there again. Hopefully, we've fleshed out on exactly what they will do. I'm still thinking the overall oversight is you, Virginia, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say company, because I know that there's a lot of new
Or
people,
contractor.
local
Contractor, yeah.
designers that have started their own businesses too here.
Yeah.
Design firms can really gouge you, man, for no reason.
Uh-huh.
I've seen design firms work where I'm like, I know first year students can do a better job, and that job is a $50,000
Well,
job.
and
Well, and we
besides
pay them
RFP
like $100 an hour, when I'm sure we could pay you probably like $50 an hour,
Right. But
So-
that's what we see in the RFP, that we're getting more work for the dollar here, and that's what we'd examine, and we'd awarded that accordingly. So what we also need to look at is how quickly the turnaround time would be. If we task one with something and we have a big project, but they say 3 months, that's something that we need to figure out, is what's our time frame, what do we want to get it back, and I think that'll designate how many people you want for the job and so on.
Yeah, so I'll have them kind of flesh some more out of it for you guys too.
Yeah.
And then in the next meeting, what we could do when they
Just as
present
a
the
push,
marketing
so we
plan.
can
they
get
could
some
present that.
concrete,
Mhm.
The more specific the
Stuff
project is, the faster the designer or the designer from whoever's doing it gets it out. Like, you give them everything they need, they can do it fast. If you're vague about something, or you're making them really have to think about what the campaign is. it's really-
Well, and
That's
it's
another
expensive.
thing we gotta think about, because
We
we're always
need to
like,
do it-
in general,
we do need to
you
do it
know,
quickly.
we-
Look, what's being ironed out is that we know we have a date for applications. It would be great to tie in event applications and what we know is coming into our campaign. So if we get moving on that, that way, we've got a plan.
Yeah,
And I'm sure
so,
all the events would be happy that somehow, some way, our overall marketing campaign encompasses, the whole idea is to encompass all the events year round.
yeah.
So
So,
when you go back, just have that in your mind that, hey, yes, all these individual events have their own budgets, but that wasn't in mind. Our biggest portion, our biggest hitter of the money that we're applying is the campaign as a loan covering all these events.
I'll have them, and I only have one set of this, so you can
Okay.
take a look at. I'll have them flush it all out, and then
Okay.
the chair and the vice chair could come and speak to you and let you know. Because also, our vice chair she's very active and knows, she can tell you everything in
Okay.
detail, and so I'll
Yeah,
have her do that.
If they can, I mean, we're meeting again in October.
And we
But,
have our meeting coming up, actually, what are we in, August?
Yeah.
Is the next quarterly is
September.
Yeah,
October.
so we have 2 meetings, I think, before yours.
Okay, in October.
Mhm.
So let us have it in October, man, that should be the main event. This is our marketing plan. I think we've given enough feedback, but let's put that as the date. And like this, well, your portion's much harder than setting a date. But I have
Yeah.
confidence in you guys to have a solid, what are we doing and who's doing it? And this is how we'll put it out for RFP, those kind of details.
Sounds
Is that a
good.
fair deadline?
Yeah, we can do that. And I can have all the details
You-
for the scope of work and
I would
everything.
say to the committee, we need to meet more. Huh? Alright. Please.
Oh, those, by the way, those are the ones that were most recent for New Mexico True that got approved. They were the first sets. The rest of them, will be going through the marketing committee and you guys. It's just, those were the ones that, we have to get out immediately, right away, usually at the beginning of each.
Those are spaces on the Mexico True magazine?
No,
Those are-
actually, that's another thing. We have an advertorial in the New Mexico magazine, one in the Texas Monthly coming out, both of those. Those are actually, the Discover Las Vegas or whatever, the big one, those are all 7 billboards.
Okay.
The other one, is gonna be the one that has the sunset on it, that's the long one. That one's gonna be the digital boards in Albuquerque.
This one?
Okay.
And, yeah,
That's
and
the
then
digital?
the other ones are Facebook and Travelocity, I believe.
And the last one, that back one, that old school,
That one, yeah, that one's the billboards. That's the one they approved for the billboards. I wanted,
How many billboards were there?
7.
So this one got approved without saying New Mexico True?
Right. No, because that
Yeah,
wasn't done
that
through the
was-
New Mexico Troop. That was done through
Oh,
our
That's the one I
billboards.
wanted, and that one.
Our
Because
funding,
we
lodger's
have
tax
the
funding.
That we funded.
Yes.
200th anniversary coming up.
So you got the same ones, or similar ones on I-40 too,
They'll approve that one.
and on the...
I think what we're trying to figure out is whether we have to, even if it's small, of whether we have to put funded by lodger's tax on it or not.
You know, we talked about that, and, you're driving by so quickly, if it's gonna cost us more to put
Yeah, no,
additional printing on there.
I know,
So,
I just didn't, I haven't heard that.
We discussed it.
Yeah, so there's like the billboards, and then like say somebody, we put something through that's outside of Mexico True for a magazine ad,
Mhm.
say whatever we're doing here.
Now, that's a little bit different because it's static, right?
Yeah. No, but what are the requirements? So that's, we just need clarity on what we need to put as far as funded by lodger's tax or
Right.
not, so we make sure we're doing the right thing.
Mhm.
So if we can find out, from whoever.
That's a
figures
good
something
question
out.
for the billboards. because-
Yeah, that's why I would like to know if that's something.
Well, you only have a few seconds to catch somebody's attention, and you want to make sure that what they are seeing
Oh, yeah, is big.
what you want them to.
All I'm
to
saying
see.
is whether we need to put, if it's small, as long as it's on there, the rest of the design is there.
Mhm.
I just need to know whether we're correctly doing that, as in we're following the lodger's tax code, right? So if we just need to put a small little thing, I understand the drive-by or whatever, but I just want to make sure we're doing the correct things for
Okay.
lodger's tax use. And if we do that, then nobody 5 years from now or next month is going to come down on us and we've been in the paper in the past for
Well,
odd things because people had more time on their hands than they needed to, but.
I'm going to
might as
plead
well.
ignorance on the fact whether that's actually a requirement.
Or not, yeah. And so I'm just saying,
I-
if we're aware, let's find out and we can just fix it right away. and-
Of all the billboards I've seen for Raton, and they have a bunch.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember seeing a lodger's, but it could be there in small
Somewhere,
print.
as long as it's there.
Or even just the logo that we use that says the
Yeah.
Lodgers Tax Sponsorship, we have a logo for it. I mean,
Yeah.
I give it to all the events.
And you
all
put the
time.
logo on there and it's approved and so on, so we don't have to worry about it. And then that becomes uniform, and so for anybody that wants to get a a billboard using Lodgers Tax Fund. This is like, just make sure that this is here and we're good. So this is something that Las Vegas First knows about, and anybody that entity, and this is also of their concern too, of whether they're correctly doing this, because it's going through them, right? So, might as well have it straight. All right, October, for sure,
October,
agenda item.
Yes.
Okay, so this will be an agenda item for October. If there's not anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I shall second.
Or I can make the motion.
Motion.
I make,
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right.
Session second
and
that.
I second that.
All right, roll call.
Georgina Ortega Onion,
Yes.
Gabriel Garcia,
Yes.
meeting adjourned.
Wow, we did good.
And we talked to the attorney about small meeting rules, Robert's Rules of Order. And technically, in boards that are smaller than 12,
Okay.
they consider it a small meeting. And we're usually like 5.
Yeah,
That even the chair can motion and what, if they feel like they have to.
he has clarified.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we
I think we did it on the last
haven't
meeting, but I-
implemented that in any of our bylaws.
Yeah.
But it's up for discussion.
I think there should be some conformity. It maybe needs to be brought up with city so that everyone knows. Some of it I'm going with our council meetings, so that's why there's some confusion there, because we have a specific etiquette. for
Yeah,
our
that's a
council
little
meetings.
bit different, but,
Yeah.
but
So I wasn't sure.
committee type meetings like this, especially if you only have 3 people.
Yeah.
And you just have a quorum, rather than if you have 5 sitting here, then, the chair can just sit out and be unbiased. And.
Right, that's what I tried to do for the majority of the time,
Right.
but I think, since you mentioned it last time, I may have done it once just to push us along on the
Yeah.
last meeting, but this meeting
Yeah.
seems to flow pretty good.
Well, a little heads up, I'm meeting at 4 o'clock with the Friends of Montezuma. I sit on that board. We're reviewing the lease contract. We're right there at signing it.
For the
Hot Springs.
okay.
And it's going to be a soft opening, what they call soft.
Okay.
So we shall see.
Good, I'd like to know, because we've been refraining from, until things are situated, at
Right.
hotels, we've been refraining from telling people about the
Yeah.
Hot Springs, and so we're just saying,